Piroska and Laszlo and they were they escaped from Hungary in 1956, escaped communism.
He did.
You did.
Yes.
He escaped
We have a
Hungary.
story.
We have a story. We're going to learn the story tonight. So I'm just gonna open in prayer quick, if that's okay. We'll open in prayer, and then we're gonna hear from these two. Let's go ahead and pray. Heavenly Father, we come here tonight to hear this amazing story. Father, at a time in the history of this world when the USSR, Russia, communism, these things are certainly all over the news right now. Lord, it seems like as a country we truly don't understand what communism is, what it means, what it means to live under those circumstances. So Lord, I pray as we are here tonight and listening to this wonderful couple that we truly do, one, realize how blessed we are to live in this nation, and also that we just praise you for their story. We thank you and praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And your name was?
Nathan.
Nathan. Nice to meet you. Okay. I'm going to try to pronounce our names the way it usually is said in Hungarian, because I don't even know how to do it anymore. When I used to go back to visit my mom, it was a song to my ear when my mom called me, like the way it should be said. It's the accent is on the first syllable. It's Piroska, not Piroska. It's Piroska. And Laszlo is not Laszlo or Laszlo, it's Laszlo. Okay, so that's our names, but we answer to anything. They called me pierogi before, they called me piroria before, so I've been a noodle in the city and everything else. So, but what it means for, yes?
Yeah, just hold it for me. When I came here, I couldn't speak any English at all. So after 6 months, I got a job, and I went walking. I could speak to people, and every time they talked to me, I smiled, and they called me Happy Pappy.
That was his nickname. Now, for the children, my translation of my name is Little Red Riding Hood. It was my grandpa who gave me that crazy name. So anybody that's here, you can go to school and tell, oh, you are homeschooled. Okay, I'm sorry. tell your friends that you met Little Red Riding Hood today. Well, my grandpa was a great storyteller, and he used to tell us stories, and he never told a story twice the same way. So when we called him on it, he always says, well, that's the way it goes today. So he was the one who insisted that I'll be Piroska. I must have had some really rosy cheeks or whatever. And then just come to think of it, when I came out, my husband escaped in '56. And I get into the story a little bit more, but I came out to the States in '68. And '70s were like this, okay, folk art-ish, everything. So I used to run around in Fostoria in my Little Red Riding Hood cape. So that was, and I'm hoping that it's going to come back. Oh, I don't know if I want '70s fashion again, but if it comes back again, maybe my granddaughters will wear it one of these days. So I wanted to show you my Little Red Riding Hood cape. Now, just on a serious note, every time we sang this song, and I hope I didn't lose the lyrics in my church, I never could finish it by the end. I pretty much started crying. But with what's happening in Ukraine right now, and what's happening with Russia as they invaded Ukraine, and the history, if any of you know anything about Hungary, we were occupied by the Russian forces for like 45 years or 50 years, something like that. And it wasn't pretty. And now we feel for the Ukrainian people. And this is, I don't know if you ever heard this song, it's called Finlandia. And it goes like this. This is my song, O God of all nations, a song of peace for lands afar and mine. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my holy shrine. But other hearts in other lands are beating, with hopes and dreams and true as high as mine. My country's skies are bluer than the ocean, and sunlight beams on clover leaf and pine. But other lands have sunlight too, and clover and skies as everywhere as blue as mine. Oh, hear my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for their land and for mine. I love this song, and it's so beautiful. The lyrics are just beautiful. Maybe I can bring it up on my phone when we go fellowship a little bit, because it's very, very pretty. And you know, when I first came to the States, and I was an only child, and I missed my mom and dad so very bad. And so many times, oh boy, here comes, I'm a weeper too. So many times I asked the Lord, I said, Lord, why? You know, why we have to be separated like this? And I think the Lord started to answer me day by day, and for such times as this, I think He had wanted me to come here and my husband to come here, because we need to witness. And every time I witness, I break down, because you know, we live through some times that here in America we just can't even imagine, just like you said, can't even imagine what it is like to be so oppressed. And unfortunately, I don't know what your political views are, but right now we are not in a very pretty place. Right now we are suffering. And we have been noticing this from the 90s already. And my husband and I, when we used to watch the news, we just kind of look at each other like deja vu, the words that started to come into our conversations. And the news media, they start to call the masses. Well, the masses, that's a communist word. It's not the citizens or the people of the United States. The masses, they started to call us. Then came, you are a Hungarian American, you're an African American, you're a German American, you're an Irish American. I said to my husband, boy, oh boy, are we in trouble. We are being separated. We are being identified by where they come from, where we came from, except what we are today. And that's a God-loving, wonderful nation that I just pray for every single day, that it will become again what it was and live under the Constitution that was written on the statutes of the Almighty God. And so this is the way I feel about situations today. So if I can witness, and what we're going to do is going to say a little bit about how we came here, how we met and everything, but your questions are going to be the most important thing, that we can answer your questions, how it was and where would it lead when we let that happen here. So
I'd like to say something about communism, because I was during the World War, I was in bombing and all this problem that we had over there. And then when that was over, the Russians came in and they took over, and then they kind of changed everything. It's like, you know, this clothes here I have on, this is for the Hungarian patriots. There was not a lot, just like you're not allowed to have a red cap with the name on it. So these things, we noticed this thing more and more. And then the time was so hard, just leaving Venezuela. We had no food. Sometimes we had to go clean the field for food. And then when it got a little bit better, when a farmer was able to grow something, they had to pay taxes with goods. And if they don't produce enough, they came and they used to keep the grain up in the attic, and this come and sweep it off, take everything. They didn't care if your family had any food or nothing, and if you didn't have enough, they put you in jail, and they didn't care what's going to happen to your family. So, and everything in the United States is coming very slowly. And in Hungary can right away. I was in fourth grade, I was able to go into Catholic school. After the communists took over, right in 49, become a nationalized school, and they were not allowed to teach religion at school. The teacher, the principal had total authority over the kids, everything. They had to build a obelisk for schoolyard for the Russians, with a star on it.
Because they liberated us in 1945. They forgot to leave after
They marched us out to the hills as kids and pick up rocks to bring them home to the schoolyard, and they built it. And when it was built, we had all the class in the summer had to line up one of the obelisks, first grade, whatever. And then they always chose one person to report how many kids are here, how many missing, and so on. So when you were at, like my class was, the first class was Russian, had to report it in Russian, because we had to learn Russian. So, they took your freedom away. Whatever they tell you you had to do. The police had a total power. They put a lot of the priests in jail, and even the nuns, they closed all the convents. So they did all these things, and we got to the point that it got so hard for people to live that they decided, students decided that they want to have some kind of freedom. I'm talking about the higher grades in Budapest.
University.
Yeah, universities, and then they made, they like for certain amount of questions that they wanted to have the radio station read. And they refused it, and the students did move. So what nobody knew what happened. The shooting started. A bunch of them died, and then that started the revolution. And a lot of the workers joined the students, and it became a big revolution. I remember when I was working in a town when I was working, not in Budapest, and I was coming out from the afternoon shift, 11 o'clock, and a truck came by, like a military truck, bunch of guys on it. Do you want to go up to Budapest? There's a revolution. Sure, I got on a truck and go to Budapest. Well, I was fortunate that I didn't get there because there was a lot of people dying over there. So I helped them, remove some communist symbols and stuff like that. The factory I worked, I helped to remove the Red Star. That was a hated thing because that's signified that Hungary was a satellite of Russia. So because of it, when we lost the revolution, I lost my job. That's when I decided that I want to leave the country. And I was fortunate that my parents allowed me to come. And then another fortunate thing that people, a friend of mine and I became, and soldiers had to help us some places. People on the street, they told there's some Russians there, so we tried to go around it. And then we finally got to the border, and we across it was 3 o'clock in the morning. We walked from 10 o'clock in the morning until 3 o'clock, and we didn't even know we were over the border until we saw a kind of road going by, a couple of people. It was 3 in the morning, and we yelled, asking where we are, and they said, "You are in Austria." So they had a light far away from where we were. It was just a open field that we walked after we got out of the village, and they had this light, and we thought that light was one of those soldiers'
towers,
okay,
the towers.
so we were keep going away from there, and then when we got over the border, it turned out to be the people in a church with a light on to guide people to go over. So that's kind of how I got across when I went into refugee camps and so on, and then that's how I came to the United States.
Yeah, he went to a refugee camp, a couple of them in Austria, and then they had to tell the officials where they would like to go. And so people wanted to go to Australia, some of them wanted to go to England, America, all over the place, but they had to find sponsors. And so there was a family living in Tiffin, Ohio, who had sponsored him. So, and daily they were able to, they came and got them, like his friend. He wanted to go to England, and he went out from the camp. They were allowed to go out to work if they found a job. And by the time he came back, he already left, so they couldn't even say goodbye. But
yeah, when you wanted to go to Europe is recruiters came and they asked, do you want to go to Germany? So you want to go to Germany? They put you on a bus or whatever, you want to go to Europe. Well, yeah, when I was in one of the camps, it was pretty deserted by then. By the time I came, it was way on the end of the big migration. And a friend of mine, we got a room, and pretty soon this young man showed up. He was a little older than we are. He said, can I stay with you guys here? I said, sure. And then he goes out and he comes back. He said, I don't think I'm staying because I talked to the friend, a German, Austrian man, and he said he hired me. So because you had skills, they were looking for people. That's why I was able to come, because I had a skill, so I was able to make my own way eventually.
So he was a tool and die maker, and he got his, well, not at the beginning. He was an apprentice actually in school, and then he finished his degree here in the United States, and then he ended up at Allied in the engineering department. He was designing robotics. So that's how his life progressed. Now, when after 10 years afterwards is when they got amnesty. They were allowed to come back and visit their folks. So until then, they couldn't come back to Hungary. And that's when the big day happened. He met me. And so, oh my gosh, it was a very disturbing situation. I mean, I was an only child, and he was from America, and I was going to technical school for my chemistry, and after every year we finished the school year, we had to go out to a field to actually practice what we had learned. So it was kind of like an internship that we had to do for a month. And I was up in Budapest in a chemical factory. We were making medicinal things, medicine. Oh my gosh, the conditions. If I have time, I'll get into that. But all of a sudden, I get this letter from my mother that I was summoned home. And I already had plans for the weekend, but I was always very obedient to my mom and dad. And of course, they said, well, this American guy is home from America for the first time. And I knew of him because my grandparents and his parents were practically neighbors. And in a way, we were relation too. And that's when my sons go, ooh, sick mom. It's not blood relations. It's my aunt married his uncle. So that's how the families knew each other. So I came home for the weekend. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to bear this because I was the only close to his age kind of person in the whole family that could, he could talk to. The only girl in the family. Okay, so all night long, midnight, we were fighting. When he said white, I said red. When he said morning, I said night. We were just constantly back and forth because that was the Vietnam era. And we had all kinds of propaganda against the United States. And sometimes we don't even realize in this country that we are the one who are giving the footage to be used against us. So they got all those footages from here, from the news media, and then of course they twisted it and, they turned it around to their advantage. So that's how we couldn't talk about anything. I thought, well, he's just talking big, he's from America, how do I know it's really that way over there? I mean, I was totally, I'm 10 years younger than he is, so I grew up under communism. He left before real communism started.
On the worst part of the
Communism, yeah. But then things settled down and we got totally brainwashed. I mean, this is where we have to be so very, very careful. And I am so glad that you're homeschooling your children, because I wouldn't want my children out there in the public schools at all, of what they are trying to teach them. And see, again, this is control. What are the Board of Education doing in this country? They are totally destroying our children, their esteem, their confidence. They break them down. They are so confused, they don't know what the heck is going on. So I am so proud to say that after all of this, what we went through, and the president of Hungary is right now a very conservative, very God-loving, God-fearing person. And he gave all the education system back to the religious organizations, so all kids are taught family, morals, love of country, and family. And he's giving all kinds of breaks for people to have children. They give them free, so much money, lots of money off if they want to buy a house. And they encourage to have more than one child, because the population in Hungary decreased so much that they are reaching the point, and here we are reaching the point too, that it's no return. We're not going to have enough babies in this country because we are killing our babies. So anyways, we had...
Can I say something?
Sure.
Yes. When the communists took over our school, Hungarian history was not taught. We were learning about Russian history, communism, how the revolution in 1919 in Russia. This is what I had to learn. But I was so staunch against these things, because when I was in the kindergarten already, they had pictures on the wall about the Hungarian and how they came to Hungary and all that, and I remember these things. I love Hungarian poetry, and all the poets were patriots, so I had to learn all these things. A lot of people who didn't, even our relatives. And this is what they are trying to do here in the United States. For you forget the past, how your truths are, and then they're going to teach you a new way of life.
A new truth.
Yeah, a new truth, which is
okay.
not it.
Some of our experiences. Okay. Now, just let me show you what happened when we both were trying to go back to visit. After, we lived here and we wanted to take our children and everything. When we went back to Hungary, within 24 hours, you had to register at the police station. And there's like 1,500 people waiting, sitting there with a little window that's always closed. And if they feel like opening it, then they say, can we help you? But we were sitting there, it was like an all-day thing, to register. Within 24 hours, because if you don't do it, it's a fine. And with our experiences there, after that, we were done with that the next day, especially when I went back with the children all by myself. I went to the American embassy and let them know that we are here, because I didn't want to, I didn't want my children to be detained or me detained. So the Americans always knew that we were there. Now, if we went to visit our relatives that lived in another town and we stayed overnight, we had to re-register there too, within 48 hours. If we stayed in a hotel, and I think it's still that way in Europe, you have to give up your passport until you leave. So they take your passport away. If that isn't scary in a communist country to leave your passport, and you won't get it back until you leave. So these were some of the terrible restrictions, talking about everybody knowing everything about you. Vaccine passports. Okay, are we going for that? So they know everything about us, our medical history, all of that. They are trying to bring all of that here to know. I mean, every time you search on the internet, boys and girls, they already have their hands on you one way or another. So avoid all these crazy things. I'm guilty because everything is on my phone, but it's just terrible what's happening. Anytime, anywhere, the Russian police, not the Russian police, but the police could stop you, you always had your little red book, and your whole life history had to be recorded. If you had a child, you had to put the child in. If you had another one, you had to put it in. If you went out of the country, you had to put that in there. If you changed jobs, you put it in there. And if you had like 2 or 3 or 4, change jobs, and here, that's the goal, you go and get a job, and you get a better job and a better job. If you had more than 3, they thought that you were a bum, because you can't keep a job. So that was a point against you if you had 2 or 3 jobs. Now, when I came out and I got my consulate passport, because the way we had to get married, we had to, when we didn't have to get married. I'm sorry, we didn't. But we wanted to get married. He had to bring all the papers here from the State House, from the government, from his employer, from the bank, and from everywhere, all kinds of papers to go, to come and marry me. And international law is that if you marry another citizen, they have to let you go, no matter what. But they didn't let me go very easy. So we had to, they said, well, within 2-3 weeks, you're gonna be able to get married. We gave the papers immediately to the local township house, and well, the papers somehow got scrambled and lost. And every time we tried to trace them, it always en route somewhere else. And the way it was worked out, 3 months, that's all as long as he could stay. So no more extensions, nothing. And we still didn't have our papers. And my aunt used to be served jury duty. I don't know how that went. But anyways, he knew one of the top officials in the county. And she wrote a letter to him. And we went and pleaded with him, and we told him our situation. And he wrote a letter. Well, first we went to the police station, and they said, I can't do anything. You have to go back,
It was another town, remember that?
Yeah, it was like maybe 50, 60 kilometers away from where we lived. So we went to the police station, no. And then we went to see this guy who knew about us. And he wrote a letter, sealed the letter, and says, take it to the police station, give it to the captain. So we gave it to him, and he went into another room and read the letter, and he came, he says, give me my passport, exactly with this kind of tone. And so he gave the passport to him, and he took that stamper and went, whoa, like the 10th county, they probably heard that big thing, and he says, now get out of here. So that was the answer. Next week, we got the papers. So it was all set up, God, that was his work, these God moments in our lives as we look back. It was all set up. I gotta get the permission to get married, but sorry, your groom had to leave last week. So it was because of this intervention of that officer that we were able to get married.
I had so many God's moments that I'm surprised that God is not tired of it. When I was a child, during the war, we had to go, we were hiding in a coal mine, and we were hiding in bunkers. And one time we were hiding in a bunker that was under a hill, and they would start bombing. I was so scared. I was like 5-6 years old, and there was another young woman who was scared as I am. So when the bomb fell on the hills, it made so much noise, and then we screamed that we lay down, and her husband laid on us. And then when the bomb went away, it was okay. When the bomb came down, they would do that. And same thing when I was not a very good child. I played with explosive. God saved me there. God helped me to get out. I was in shooting during the revolution. I could have gotten shot during the escaping. I wasn't, so he helped me find a sponsor, helped me find a job. I mean, it's like, to me, it's like God is always with me, always. So everything seemed to working out.
And with us too, I mean, the two of us. Can you imagine my mom and dad having to make a decision to let me go as an only child? I thank God and thank them every single day of my life that they had the courage and they had the love for me, that they wanted a better life for me. And for the longest time, as I said, I couldn't figure out why. But then when it's just skipping a little bit back, I don't know how many of you heard Princess House. I was a consultant for Princess House for 30 years, and I was selling crystal. And I went into many, many, many homes, and I got a chance to witness to everyone about my God, about my country, of how it was. And if I just touched one person out of all those many different people that I had seen, I think I've done my job. But there was so much interest of how it was and what happened and how it could happen. And we always are reading our history. We say, how could Hitler get away with what he got away with? Well, Hitler made the laws. And the laws everybody had to follow, or you follow the consequences, either concentration camp or jail or get killed or whatever. Well, we are making the laws, unfortunately. That is not what we want. It's the lawmakers who are making these laws, and that's why we have to really, I think we have to have a little, I don't want to say a revolution, but I don't know what it's going to take. I think what it's going to take is a big revival, first of all, that we get down on our knees and ask for God's forgiveness. For goodness sakes, how can God forgive us when we killed 40 million children? 40 million children. I am the president of Right to Life of Fostoria Bascom, and also by VP for a coalition, Ohio Right to Life Action Coalition. So I know how the laws are being made and how the politicians say, oh, I'm pro-life, and they don't listen. So we have to, as people, hold them responsible. They work for us. They got away with, those little peons and the masses out there and the implorables and whatever. Well, we have to stand up. We are not those. We have to fight for it. I tell the kids when I talk to schools, I said, your freedom is not free. You have to fight for it every single day. You have to witness your faith, and you have to witness your love of your country and your family and all of that. Now, enough of this, because I'm sure you have many questions. So
I want to say something again. I forgot. When after the farmers couldn't grow enough grain and stuff, they took all the land away from them, and they came to collective farms. And the government decided on a three-year plan, 5-year plan. So eventually, some collective farms wanted to go work very well, some didn't. But it still didn't have enough food for the people. So when we had the revolution, suddenly we had bread and everything you could go on. Before that, we had to stand in line for bread. When I was a child, my job was Saturdays that I stand in line for bread from 6 until the bread came, 8, 7, whatever. I was small kids, so by then they had 50, 60 people want to go in the same time. A lot of time I didn't get to get bread, and my mom had to stand at the butcher shop on Friday nights to get meat. So that was the same scenario over there. So these people, they think that they know better than like farmers and independent people. They took a land they had land away They put doctors in jail. People who had money, they put them in jail, or they hung them, or they had to get out of the country. So it happens so quick, you know, if you listen to the right news, you find out how bad things are here, that it can happen real quickly, because we think that we have the weapon, you know, guns, we're gonna do that. You know, we're gonna come and try to take everybody same time. Get your neighbor, they put them away, another neighbor, pretty soon they say, well, you know, you're gonna be afraid. They're not gonna go and say, start a revolution like that you wanna be able to fight back. They're a lot smarter than that. So in Hungary, they made a big mistake that they discounted the people, discontent against the government. It was because of it. You know, there they took people away. They can torture them. We went back to visit one time, and we went in front of this building in Budapest, and they had pictures on the wall. I said, what the heck going on? So we go over there, and they had a sign, Terror Museum. So we went in there, and they show all the people who were tortured over there under communism. And after the revolution, they were hanging people like 14, 16 years old kids because they were in a revolution. So, and then you can't do anything because they're not gonna, you cannot organize. I think that's our biggest problem here, we are not organized. You take Catholic Church too, you get half of people believe in abortion, half of people don't believe in abortion. You know, I just don't understand how can be Catholics and believe in, so I don't know. So this is, things can happen, you have to be very vigilant.
Just when we went to this terror museum, and you probably are thinking, oh gosh, it couldn't have been. You go into this museum, they show the torture chambers. They show they're tearing their nails off and torturing them with electricity, standing in water and torturing them with electricity. And they show the noose exactly where they were hanging people. Cardinal Mindszenty was a great cardinal. He didn't agree with the Nazis, so they put him in jail and they tortured him and beat him and whatever. And then when he got out of jail because the Russians, then he didn't agree with communism, so they tortured him some more. And finally he had gotten asylum in the American embassy. So actually when we were there to apply for my visa, he was there in one of the rooms because he couldn't step out of the embassy without being caught and jailed and probably gotten away with. So there are some horrible, horrible things that happened. I was a pioneer at fifth grade, you were able to get your little red handkerchief. And that was like a Girl Scout or a Boy Scout here, but we were the little commies, you know, and they hauled us out for every Russian holiday, every Hungarian holiday, and we marched on the streets. We didn't know what we were doing, but that's what we were supposed to, because we love our country and we just do whatever. And they forced in the workers, everybody. So we sometimes didn't even know what we marched for, what we marched. So, all right, I am going to turn it over to you for questions, please. Whatever you can, and don't be afraid, no question is insignificant. Children, about the children. Boys back there, any questions? Yes.
So, you said that he had trouble with speaking and they called him Happy Pappy.
Yes.
So, can you guys still speak?
Oh, yes, we can. Yes, we do, but not as good as when we used to go back. My mom and dad passed away, oh my gosh, 13 years ago now this year, and we used to go back. It took me about a day to get reacquainted with the language, and then my tongue started moving again in that way.
Yeah, when I speak Hungarian, I don't realize sometimes I go into English, and she started telling me that you speak English now.
He's talking Hungarian, all of a sudden he switches over to English. I said, wait a minute, they have blank in their eyes. They don't see, they don't understand.
It's a lot easier for me to speak English than Hungarian. I don't know a lot of new Hungarian words. I only know Hungarian until I was 17 years old. And after that, I didn't speak Hungarian. And now when I go back to visit, I go to a store, I don't know some of the things, and I have to just explain what I want. Instead of I say, well, I want a plier, well, I don't know the name of it. For a store, I have to say, I want to get something that do this and this.
So anyways, all right. Now, when I came, I couldn't speak any English either. And everybody was asking me, do you know Zsa Zsa Gabor? And I go, oh yeah. Had no idea who Zsa Zsa was. And then one day he was on these windows, that game show, they were in the windows and they were asking them questions or whatever. And she was one of those shows, and she was so disgusting. And she was so fake. And I said, oh God, please, just don't let me be like her. Let me learn English. And so that was my first priority, to learn the language. And by the way, as soon as I was able to write a letter or do I'm a rebel. And I learned English very quickly because I got into everything. I just wanted to know everything about everything in this country, and I joined every woman's club that was out there just to learn different things. And so you can imagine, when I had a baby, I didn't know how to say diaper. I didn't know, my neighbor lady, well, I'm going to show you how to fold diaper. I didn't understand what she was saying. She had to show it to me. And then we used to go walk down the street, and she used to say gas station, store, lamp, or traffic light. That's how I learned. And I had, oh gosh, God forgive me, but I had the soap operas on all the time. And I could say subdural hematoma before I could say hello. Because that's what everybody had. They fell over and they hit their head and they had subdural hematoma. I didn't know what it meant, but I was so proud that I could pronounce it. So, but as soon as I was interested in a word, I took my Hungarian English dictionary out, and then I found out what it was. We lived on Park Shore Apartments, and the ladies, they used to have like a coffee out on the terrace, all of us ladies, and my arms were always Hungarian, English, English, Hungarian, and we communicated out of the dictionary. So that was, it's like a baby. You have to learn everything all over again. And then people ask me, well, how do you know when you know English? I said, when you can complete a crossword puzzle. Because I love crossword puzzles, and constantly I'm doing crossword puzzles. And so, another question. Yes.
When Laszlo
Yes.
was 17, the Hungarian Revolution, he was sponsored and came to America. How old were you when you went back and met Piroska?
26.
26.
Yeah. 27, yeah.
Right.
And then, 2 years. He was, oh my gosh. After he left, he wrote to me every single day. So I had all these letters, so now he doesn't write anything. I'm the secretary in the house. He wrote himself out, but I have kept so many letters, and not too long ago we pulled a few of them out when we started reading them, and oh my gosh, how far did we come? You know, it's like,
I stopped writing because she was keep correcting my
oh my goodness, this is a thing, you know, I just can't stand it, you know, and he writes me these beautiful English cards in English, and I have a tendency of correcting, and it's so cute because he means well and everything, but spelling is not his thing, in Hungarian or in English. And one of our sons is a terrific speller, the other one is an engineer. He can't spell for anything. So, but let me brag about our sons. We have 2 boys, and they are, I had to take my coat off, I'm too hot. Yeah, thank you, Diane. And I'd like to wear those long coats because then I hide my COVID weight. I said, oh Lord, I said, I didn't even lose my baby fat. My sons are 50 and 53, but I didn't lose my weight after I birthed them. But now COVID came, and then a couple of 10 more pounds came on. So, all right, so he was 27 when he came. So the boys always say, Dad, you robbed the cradle. But you know, when I came to this country, one of the things that we were so much mature. First of all, we went to school 6 days a week, Saturday too, regular school day. We only had Sunday off. So they put a lot of education into us. And the brainwashing they did with the education, but we got a lot of education. And we grew up pretty quickly over there under those circumstances. When you were 14 years old, you had to decide you're going to go to a gymnasium, that's a preparatory high school for a university, or you're going to go to a technical school, you go to a trade school. You had to go somewhere because you couldn't work at 14 years. And so at 14, yes, you
could work in a mine or any place.
yes, in the mines and these kind of things. So, but, so that's how, you know, we were so much mature about what we're gonna do. I sat into some of the senior classes when I came out because I was like 19. And so the teacher let me sit in. I could not believe the behavior of the kids in the public schools, the way they were laid out, and they were disrespectful to the teacher. Even in technical school, we had our hands behind our backs, and we had all attention on the teacher. You couldn't doodle, you couldn't do anything. So it was very, very strict. The teaching was very strict, and one thing they taught us is respect. So when I came here, I had 30-year-old friends instead of 20-year-old friends because I had more common with the 30-year-olds than I had with my age group. So, all right, another question, please ask questions. Yes?
How often do you go back?
Well, unfortunately, when my parents passed, we didn't have a reason, very much reason. His parents are gone, his sister is gone, and I didn't have much relation, so we haven't been back since then. Well, at one time I went back for my 9 years is when I went back for my class reunion one year. So I would love to go back, but now COVID happened, so it's not permissible now, and hopefully we'll make it there at least one more time because both of my parents are buried in Hungary. My mom died here because we brought her out when Dad passed away, and then we had her cremated and took her ashes back, and she's buried with my dad. So we'd love to go back.
So what's up? When you said you first met, you were arguing.
Oh my gosh.
So was it his love letters? I mean, what
I tell you what, you can pour out your heart much more in a letter than sometimes do it face to face. So he wrote me things, and then I started listening, and so we first. Maybe like the first couple of weeks it was rough, but he was home for 3 months at that time too. So we had I was his tour guide, because when he was living in Hungary, it was impossible to really get around anywhere. When I was in school every year, we had a bus trip at the end of the year, and we took the tours to all the historical places. And the place we lived is a very, very historical area. Right there is where the first king was crowned. The castle is there. I have some pictures. I have a lot of things out there, and I have some pictures here. The cathedral that we got married in, Cardinal Vincenti was a cardinal there, and that's where the first king's palace was, so we had a lot of history. He didn't know anything about these things, so we kind of went, and we both found out we love movies, and we love old movies, and so we both went, we found every theater in Budapest, and we just, toured all around, yes.
Yeah, we didn't argue all the time though. I stayed there until 3 in the morning. She was paying very well piano. And I love the arias that I remember from the radio when I lived there, that they used to sing it. And she used to play all those arias from Aida and Traviata and all these things. So most of the time she played them, and she played herself out. That's when we started
arguing. So, but really, I started to listen, and that's very important, and I think that's what the problem is here today with us. We don't listen enough. We like to talk, and we don't want to hear even God's voice, because we are in a noisy, noisy society. Anybody else? Yes?
Do you have a favorite Hungarian dessert?
Oh yes, Hungarian desserts, I tell you, I walked by one of their sweet shops and the pounds just started going all over me. I didn't even have to taste it, just the smell makes me gain weight. There's a lot of wonderful torts in Hungary. Dobos torta, that's one of them that I love. It's a 12-layer chocolate cake, 12 layers of chocolate cake. It's delicious, and there's a cream dessert that I don't think we call it creamish. It's very, very good. All right, there was one back here.
So how old was Laszlo when he first got to the United States?
17. Yeah, so he was a young buck. Oh, you were 18 by then. You escaped in 17. Okay. Yes.
So you had said that you couldn't work at 14, you had to go to some other school or whatever. What age was it that you could work?
16. 16 was, that was the drinking age. You were 16 and you could drink. I couldn't drink here. I had a baby and I still couldn't drink yet or even a glass of wine or anything.
We grew up in a different era, okay, so when I was there, after 8th grade, you have to get a job. Yeah, a lot of kids work and have their parents, because the area I lived, it was partly farming, part mining, okay? So if you have at home farming or whatever, or sometimes the farmers hired kids to herd cows or do something, and that was one of the kind of work that you can do.
Yeah, he was herding goats for his grandparents up on a hilltop until they set the hills on fire. He was such a good boy. And they ran. So he said he would have been a delinquent here if he would have done these kind of things. So anybody else? Yes.
So you said Laszlo and Piroska?
Laszlo and Piroska. Yes. Let me tell you a little bit about what he had. Oh, yes.
When did you escape from Hungary?
In 1957. Well, 1956, that's when the revolution started.
57 January.
January.
7.
That was a long time ago. Come on, grown-ups, any other questions?
What was the footage they were showing during the Vietnam War? So were they showing it under like pro-communist, that the Vietnamese were being oppressed by the Americans?
Yes, and they were showing the footage how the Americans were bombing and doing all these things over there.
It's funny because even in that era, that's where you see the change. We've talked about this, where they were showing it as, in America, as we were the bad guys, and you start seeing that propaganda being pushed.
Yeah.
The communist wave was coming to America then, even in the 60s.
You know, what I remember, like the Ukraine was, of course, part of Russia. And when we went to the movies, and we had these matinees, and I couldn't go. Now, that's another thing. I started to say when I was a little pioneer, that's when you have to make an oath that you don't believe in anything except your country and its government and its officials. So they practically make you deny your Lord. And so Mom and Dad, I could not go to the movies until I went to church. So that's one thing that I said, you cannot go until you go to church. And then that was like for a couple of years, and after that, I got indoctrinated into this thing, and it was no going to church anymore. Anybody that did not join the party, they did not get the promotions, they did not get the jobs, they were, you could not join the party, but you were a total outcast. And so, oh my gosh, what I wanted to go to that. Oh, when I was a pioneer, and so when I went to the movies, and they had like this 10-minute news thing. I think it used to be here too. Before the movie started, there were some things. And all we saw, everything was honky-dory. The Ukraine had the grain, and the combines were going, and the people were singing. They were, doing all this, and it was like actually singing, working, and whatever. And it was such everything. We producing everything, and we have everything going according to the 3-year plan, and a 5-year plan, and a 10-year plan. And people were hungry. We didn't have food. We didn't have meat in the butcher shops. There was one comedian, just a minute, Astacia. We had one comedian that was able to speak. He got permission, like in the early 60s, that he could say things just to show the West that free speech, okay? But if he went over the boundaries, he got into trouble. He was in jail a couple of times. But I remember one of his skits. He says, this one woman goes to the butcher shop, and he's asking for pork chops. And the guy says, we don't have any. Then he is asking for like a cut of beef. We don't have any. How about some chicken? We don't have any. And so the guy says, who's the one who's so choosy out there? They thought that, okay, he's asking about all these things, but nothing was there. And then the 5-year plan, this pig was supposed to have 10 piglets. And that's the government decided that every piglet should have 10 piglets in the farm. And the inspectors came, and they were asking them, like, what you gonna do with these piglets? And he says, this pig only had like 5. We didn't have 10. He says, well, we're gonna export 3, and we're gonna do something else with the other 2. And he says, well, what we gonna do with the rest of them that weren't born? He says, that's ours. So there were no meat. It was just, these are the kind of silliness that happened, that these bureaucrats decided how much grain is going to be, how much livestock is going to be, and if they didn't meet up to the thing, then they just somehow fixed it in the books, and there was nothing to eat.
I was so ignorant. You talk about movies. I lived in a small village. We didn't have any movie. So one time this traveling outfit show movies, and we wanted to sit right on the front, and when a train came by with all this wheat and everything, it would just keep coming and coming. All of us, we bent out, we thought it's going to come off the film.
When the train just comes into the movie, and so they were scared that it's going to run over them.
Yeah, after the war it was so bad, because the Hungarians had to pay war debt to the Russians, so a lot of time they had to pay it in grain or meat or whatever. They dismantled a lot of factories and they moved on to Russia. So this is something that the Americans doesn't know about, how hard it was for the people Central Europe and Eastern Europe. And here you guys had a wonderful Marshall Plan. You built Germany, they were all over you, while the people on the East, they were suffering, and no food, no nothing. So
I had a friend who lived close to the Ukrainian border, and she said the trains, they watched the trains every day, filled with goods, went out to Russia, and they were coming back empty. Filled, empty, filled, empty. Where we lived, there was 3 huge Russian camps with at least 5,000 soldiers in each of them. And all these poor soldiers, just like you heard in the news that the Russian mothers are crying that their sons have to go to war in Ukraine. Well, those Russian mothers were crying if they deployed them into the Eastern European countries, because only the officers could get out of the camp. And they were all shut in the camp, all these men, 5,000 of them, and they had no way of going out. When they went to practice, or the maneuvers, they were doing maneuvers, and they put them out in the hills, and they were practicing whatever. And as little 12, 13-year-old girls, we used to come home from school, and these trucks came by, and these guys were just ready to jump off that truck, and they're hooting and hollering and saying things that little girls shouldn't hear. But they were terrible. The Russian mothers knew what these soldiers are going through, so they were crying for them even to be deployed into a place like an Eastern European occupied country. All right, you had a question.
After being brainwashed to believe in communism as you grew up, how did you come to see the evil of it and realize the truth?
Well, I saw the truth. I saw what they were hiding from us, because they called it the dirty, rotten, imperialist, just to oppress everybody here, and they just, care about themselves, and that's all we heard. We had certain things in our history books in bold that we had to learn, and it was imperialist and fascists and all of that, and all of that was United States was labeled with that. And so when I came here, how can I not change? I mean, I came into New York in the middle of a garbage strike in '68. He picked me up in New York at the airport, and so we stayed up in New York, and we went to the what you call it?
UN?
The UN. We went to, see New York everywhere. We hired a taxi, and he was a taxi driver that stayed with us for all day. He charged us $25. Can you imagine a cabbie driver in New York? $25, and he took us to the Bowery, he took us to the worst places, Chinatown, everywhere. And I said, in Hungary, anybody that's new and wanted to be impressed with the country, they wouldn't dare take him into places like this. So I saw everything the first couple of days, but there was garbage everywhere in New York, because New York was under a garbage strike. And all I could think of, wow, they can strike, they actually can show the government, that they don't like what the conditions they are working. So I get goosebumps every time I talk about that. And then I told my mom, sorry, see why I learned English so quickly, because I talk all the time. But I was telling my mom, honey, Mom, the taxis are so huge, the cars. We had these little Trabant, the East German cars that you could put your fist through the hood, because it was like fiberglass or whatever. By the way, if you go down to Dayton to the Flight Museum or the Air Force Museum, there's a section there about the Eastern, what was it? The Silent War, what they called it. Cold War, yes, the Cold War. There's a little Trabant right there, a little car with a lady standing on top of it. That was my family car. Those were my family cars. So I told my mom, the taxis, they're just coming and coming and coming. They are huge, they are so long. And when first you come to this country and you come from a deprived situation, all you care for is to get things, like you can afford things. And that's how you look at things, like they have meat and they have flour. And when I went into Great Scott the first time and I saw like 10 different kinds of flour, I said, okay, which one do I take? 10 different ones. The packaging was just awful. They just put it in a sack and they sold it and it was leaking. You had to take it because that was the only thing. And here, everything, sugar, 10 different kinds, flour, 10 different kinds. And all of that, oh my gosh, my husband loved tuna fish. And one time I shopped in the wrong aisle because I couldn't read yet. And so I bought cat food tuna. Instead of regular tuna. Well, I saw the doggies and the kitties when it says tuna. It said tuna, so I picked that up. Okay.
You know, when you come here from, at least when I was, everything was so bad, no food, no nothing, and you come to the United States, and you have everything. You know, and people take care of you, they care for you. That's one of the big things, the freedom. You know, when I came here, I never thought that what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make a living or whatever. I came here for freedom, and nobody bugs me, nobody bothers me. I don't have to go and report at the police station. That's what attracted me. When I came here, you know, first thing, you know, a hotel, we went down for breakfast. The only thing I didn't like is grapefruit juice. I don't like it now, but it was so different. But anything else, the apple pie, the chocolate pie, bologna, whatever, because in Hungary, when I was a kid, we could have bologna when I was in a hospital for a long time, and after that I have to go for treatment. And my mother took me into one of these taverns, okay, and she bought like a couple of pieces of salami and bread. I mean, not salami, bologna. I just loved it. So when I came here, I love bologna.
So that's, and then eventually your eyes open to the other things, not just material things, but then, you know, God gave me a chance to be reborn in my church. You know, I was totally taken away from the Lord, and here I was able to worship, and oh my gosh, I just, I can't tell you how much my heart is filled with just that I'm able to worship my Lord and serve Him and do whatever He had given me. And I thank Him every day that He gives me these opportunities. And we don't want to keep you because I know that, oh my gosh, it's 7:45. Oh, geez. So, is that a right time?
It's fine.
Oh, you have to have some cookies. I'm sorry, we talked too long. Yes.
Laszlo, you said that when you came to America, you didn't know any English, and that, you know, you got your nickname. So just being immersed in the language is how you learned, or?
Yes, I watch lots of television. I love westerns, okay, because I couldn't have it in Hungary. You couldn't even read a book. I was against the law. So when I came here, I just loved it. And a lot of time, what it sounds to you is not really the way it sounds. That's why I have so much accent. Well, for a long time, have gone, you know, traveled. I always thought have gone, will traveled. It was until I started to learn to read, and that's when I realized that that's not a B, it's a B. So that's why, and I'm not very good at music like she does. So I'm not very good at vowels, the sounds, hearing them, and then writing them because they can have so many different sounds. The A can sound now or whatever you like, and in Hungary we write phonics. So when you write it down, you know the alphabet, you know how to write. So
We have, for the kids' sake, we have 44 letters in the Hungarian alphabet. And so we don't have to spell because we have 44 sound in any, human sound is 44 sounds. So we pronounce the letters and then we can put them together and that's the way we read a word. So it's much easier to learn 44 letters than these sight words that my grandkids are struggling with, having to memorize like 15 different words, how to spell it. So, can I tell you the alphabet real quick? A, A, B, C, Č, D, Z, J, L, E, F, G, H, I, O, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, N, P, O, P, Q, O, P, Q, R, S, T, Z, J, X, Y. So these are that's the alphabet. And see, in Hungary, the A or the A is always A. You put a dash on it, it makes it A. And my last name is Lencsés, maiden name, and Len, A is an E, but the end is another E with a dash on it, and that's an A, Lencsés. So that's how you distinguish. And even I said E, O, U, or whatever. The dots make the difference on, for instance, Two dots is If you put two dashes, it's So even the length of the vowel is determined by these little signs that you put above.
They have two letters there. You have to be very careful. When you are happy, you are stud. When you are crazy, you are
So we have things like this. And then we have, like things körte. Körte could be a fruit, and körte is the light bulb too. I guess because it's shaped like a pear. Okay. Oh. Mi atyám, let's pray. Let's finish with prayer. Okay, I'll talk to you on station out there, okay? All right. Atyának és Fiúnak és a Szentlélek Istennek nevében, amen. Atyám, mi atyám, ki vagy a mennyekben, szenteltessék meg a te neved, jöjjön el a te országod, legyen meg a te akaratod, miképpen itt a földön is, miképpen itt a földön is. Oh my gosh. We say it all the time and I'm stuck. Mindörökké, amen. That's the way it is. Forever and ever, amen. I thought it was more in there, but okay. Yes, real quick.
What prayer was that?
Pardon me?
What prayer was that?
Our Father.
Our Father. Yes. So God bless all of you. Thank you so much for inviting us, and we can fellowship with you out there. This porcelain right here is called the Hungarian gold, and it is the ingredients of the porcelain. It was only mined in Hungary, and so that's why they call it the Hungarian gold. So the value is tremendous, and it's all hand painted. And this pattern with the butterflies and the roses and stuff is called the Queen Victoria pattern because it was created for Queen Victoria. And this is the little teapot and the little cups. I do little tea parties with my little granddaughters. And this particular piece, this is, while it's a greenware, and I don't know if any of you do ceramics or anything, but when they have the softness of the material, they take little knives and they carve all these little things, and then they start painting them, and then they fire it, and then they glaze it. But it's all hand painted. This is all hand painted. So if you want to,
different people do different things.
and then we have usually like a number back here, and that means an artist. Each of them have their number. So, and the beautiful statues, you will see some pictures out in the other
You know
room.
what that represents?
What?
Statues?
Yeah, it's a betyárok.
No.
What?
This is when in the olden days they used to recruit people to the military. One of these guys went over there and he was doing dancing and everything, and then he recruit people to young men to sign up.
No, this
So-
isn't that, honey.
Yes, it
They
is.
have a uniform on. This one is
No, they
the.
didn't.
This one is a betyár. Anyways, and this is our beautiful folk Madonna. And so these are precious things to me because they were, we bought some and some were bought for us. And I have all kinds of things out in the other room that you can look at, embroidery and tablecloths and clothes and everything else. So thank you very, very much for inviting us. Oh gosh, I could spend a week with you and